pop up, and then I will tweet at both of you. Share broadcast. There we are.
Hello, Twitter. It's great to be here. Why is the emoji next to lose big winners a red light?
Is that the recording light?
On YouTube.
Does automatically.
Yeah.
It automatically does it for every live stream.
To me, it says, do not listen to this. But I guess it really means recording.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Alright, I just tweeted it at both of you. Lose big winners.
First thing that Nick said when he got on the stream is, Lewis, are you sunburnt?
Sunburnt in Chicago in the fall. That's honestly, that's impressive.
That's a guy who loves Big Ten football.
That's a guy who loves to tailgate.
Yes. That's a guy who went high school football Friday, IU at Northwestern Saturday.
You were there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Indiana. Covering machine.
They are a covering machine. Look how red I look. Jeez Louise. I swear, if you're watching, I'm not a Martian. There's something with my camera that makes me look like a Cheeto.
He's just red hot. He can't stop winning.
Yes.
Also, which one of you has the sound on your phone? Make sure to turn
I just
that
turned
down.
it off.
It's probably Lewis. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Cool.
I'm gonna
Live,
tweet
boys.
it out.
Lou, are you a Northwestern guy? Is that
Not really. My dad went to Northwestern.
really?
So there was, like, I think, a semblance of allegiance, but he was not like a big rah-rah college guy. Like, he commuted. He was not like living in the dorms. And
That's the first time I've ever seen the Northwestern field when I was watching the Indiana Northwestern game. It's got to be a top 3 just visual venue in all of college sports. It's unbelievable.
fun fact, that is a temporary stadium.
Really?
Their old stadium was a complete dump. It's like 100 years old, Ryan Field. And the new stadium is going to be beautiful. But that stadium is like their lacrosse field and where the football team has typically practiced. And they just put up like 15,000, maybe 10,000
It was awesome.
worth of bleachers.
Get rid of lacrosse and put football there.
One of the coolest venues I've ever been to. You
Yeah.
can see the lake
Right.
from the seats. You can see the skyline from the seats.
Yeah.
It was incredibly cool.
Just so you know, if you lean back, you get significantly less red. The farther you
But
go
then
back.
my audio will probably be worse.
Just get right up on the mic. You'll be real red.
Yeah. What's going on, guys?
Oh, no, that's better, actually.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I'm at peak redness, whatever
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ratio is.
Wherever you're most comfortable is the most red right now, actually. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
That's ball. How about, is this any better? I'm going to try to move.
There you go.
There's really no good situation here.
I do hate to break it to you, Lou, but I don't think anyone was tuning in for your good looks. I think
Yeah,
they were
I know.
tuning
They
in
just
'cause
want
you
the
went
locks.
5-0 last week.
5-0 last weekend.
They just want winners. How we looking on the chat? Is anyone popping off in the chat?
I'm getting in here right now. Karina, what's going on? Addison, Jacoby, ever heard of him? Partnerships
Addison.
Dub Club, what's going on?
Speaking of IU football school,
Oh, is he an IU guy?
oh yeah, they call him Mr. Bloomington in the company. Yeah,
I want to get to IU for a basketball game.
Assembly Hall, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
You're on like an incredible. Yeah, you more than any other capper. You're like a quest guy where you go to do cool stuff. How
Yeah.
was Cleveland?
Dude,
Cleveland?
it was- Oh, yeah.
Speaking of cool stuff, Cleveland.
Yeah.
The game was awesome. I mean, as a baseball, kid, someone that played baseball in college and is a baseball guy, 0-0 through 8 2/3 is just perfection, especially in the playoffs. And that 3-run tank, obviously, was hoping the guards would hit the 3-run walk off, but Gary Carpenter, hell of a baseball player. Off Emmanuel Clase, that's you just got to tip the hat.
I was listening on the radio on my commute home on
Yeah.
the Detroit broadcast, and that was a pretty electric call.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was Scooble Day, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Clase was throwing 101.
Yeah, he looked horrible. I mean, he in the previous inning he came in runners on first and second, 2 outs, and gave up a shot, and Quan made a diving catch to sort of save the game. And then, I mean, he got hit hard 4 times, like 4 balls hit over like 95 for sure.
Yeah, he wasn't fooling anybody, as they say in the
No,
business.
and as someone with a .61 ERA, which is just ridiculous. I mean,
October's a different sport.
oh yeah. I mean, he hadn't given up. I don't think he gave up 2 runs in a game all year. And he gave up 3, which is the same as like Devin Williams against the Mets, just collapse.
You're a baseball guy. Were they tipping pitches?
I heard Devin Williams was. I heard Devin Williams the glove angle is different for fastball changeup, and Pete Alonso, the hitting coach, caught on and told him, and you could literally see him tell him, and then I saw a video where they showed it, and it was like a couple of inches, but I mean, if you're looking for it, you're gonna see it. He knew it was coming.
And it was during the Alonso AB?
Yeah, like I think it was Nimmo before Alonso. The hitting coach came up to Alonso in the on deck circle, and you can see him tell him something. And then after he hit the bomb, Alonso pointed at the hitting coach. So
Oh my God, that's
something
insane.
was going on. Yeah,
Wow. Tough break. Milwaukee can't catch a break in October.
oh man, such a good baseball team too. And I mean, they were that.
As a
good
Cubs fan, it really
Yeah.
tears me up inside to see that.
Yeah. I like the Brewers though. I mean, they did all that without Yelich. Like, imagine if they had their best player. I mean, they could have won the World Series this year, especially because there was so much parity this year too.
What do we? I know this is a Big Ten football podcast or live stream. What are you rooting for as a fan, World Series wise?
I mean, I love Tatis, so I hope the Padres get one. But any AL Central team I'd be good with too.
Cleveland.
Small market, Cleveland, Detroit,
Detroit.
Kansas City, especially the Royals. I played against Bobby Witt Jr. in high school, so I'm a
No
big
kidding.
Big Bobby Witt fan. I got a funny story actually. We're playing him. We're down in Florida. He's from Texas, I think, but they were in Tampa too. And we're going up to play him, and my buddy, who's on my team, was like, "Yo, this is the #1 player in the country." I'm like, "All right, dude, relax. Don't hype him up. We got to play him." He's
Love
leading
that
off.
from you.
First pitch, 460 dead center. Like, we were playing on a baseball field that had a football field in the outfield, and it was angled. So dead center, like dead center, was like 500 feet, and he hit it just a little bit left. It was 460 plus, obviously metal bat, but
Yeah.
I've never seen anything. I was like, wow. And then I think we lost like 27-0 or something like that. So we could enjoy the show after the first pitch, but it was something else to see. So I've always been a big Bobby Witt Jr. supporter since then.
I love that you're the clubhouse guy. You're like, guys, get right between the ears. This is our game for the winning, and then just like immediately humbled.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. Now I'd be like, yeah, we're probably screwed when we faced a kid going to West Virginia pumping 95 and catchers going to UCF and Bobby Witt Jr.'s, the shortstop. Yeah, you're not gonna win, but
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed dorm room degenerates thought that was your one day.
yeah, baseball. Anything can happen.
You play them 10 times, they win 9 out of 10.
That's right.
Not today.
That's right.
All right, I'm gonna share the draft of my call to action tweet, and then you gotta tell me if you like it, and then we'll go live.
Okay.
Okay, Dorm Room Degens 8 and I are about to break down an absolutely delicious Week 7 Big Ten football slate.
Love it.
If you hate stacking units, please do not tune in. Thoughts?
I love it.
All right. Okay, expect a big onrush of new entrants in the chat now that my 500 followers have got the alert.
You just crashed the stream. You just overloaded the servers. They can't handle it.
Elon, what are you doing? I just tuned into the stream so I can monitor the chat, and I do look super red.
It's your computer.
Mustard
dude.
last-
You have like a 10-year-old computer.
I got to get that updated. All right, should we hit it?
Let's do it.
Okay, let me hype up my guy Dorm Room Degenerates before we get into it. 10-2, last 12.
Yep.
The guy is a football wizard. He's been on the platform for what? How long now? 18 months?
Yeah, almost 2 years. Coming up on 2
One
years.
of, I would say, the most consistent multi-sport beasts we work with. Big Oregon Duck, which is especially why I wanted him on this week. Rivalry week
Absolutely.
with the Buckeyes. And we're going to talk ball. So we've got a very tasty Big Ten football slate. Only 7 games. So what it lacks in quantity, I think it more than makes up for in quality. 2 marquee brand name matchups and some other really compelling mid-tier games with tight spreads. Let's start with probably the least compelling of the matchups. Northwestern at Maryland. Northwestern coming off a shellacking in a beautiful venue on their temporary stadium on the lakeshore. Terps coming off a bye week. They kind of seem a little rudderless right now. Nick, are you touching this game? Sides, totals, props?
Yeah, I mean, you say that Northwestern kind of got shellacked by Indiana, but that was a ball game. Like, I had Indiana, and there was a point in the second half when I was like, holy shit, Northwestern might just mess around and win this game outright. Coming into that game, I think I saw something Northwestern hadn't thrown for a touchdown all season. I think they had their first passing touchdown all season in that game. You might have to fact check me on that one, but I'm almost positive I heard that.
We do
And
not
then-
fact check on this stream. Let
All
it
right,
be known.
well, I guess I can say whatever I want and speak my
Yeah,
truth.
this is a safe space.
All right. So, yeah, then they threw for another one. So, I thought the offense actually looked good for Northwestern. And against Maryland, who's been horrible, they lost to Michigan State, like 10.5, especially getting a key number. I don't know about you, Lou, but we might have to go with the hometown boys here.
You're spot on. I had the same exact read. Northwestern, I don't know what they did on the bye week, but
Yeah.
they went to Washington. They got embarrassed by the Huskies. Very good defensive football team in Seattle.
Yep.
They look good against Indiana. That was a tough environment. That was what I like to call Bloomington North. It was all IU people. They look good for most of that football game. Offensively, looked like a completely different team. The quarterback was running the ball a lot, getting the ball out on time.
Yep.
Defense looks crappy, but Maryland is not a very good football team. And to be laying 10.5 points,
It's just
it doesn't make sense. I think Maryland is a very directionless program right now.
Yep.
They're like, I don't see them really putting all the pieces together this season. So I like getting the points. I wouldn't be shocked if they win outright. The Cats,
I agree.
they're one of those teams that tend to start slow, win one random away game where they're a dog every year, and then beat somebody at home in an 11 o'clock start when they're sleepwalking. So I think this is the one random away game where they're a dog, where if they don't win, it's going to be close in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'm with you. And to me, just looking through opponents, I think the most comparable to Maryland that Northwestern has played is Duke. And I mean, you look at it.
That was a dogfight.
26-20 final. But that game went to double OT. You know what I mean? Like, and I had Duke in that game. And I was, both times I've bet against Northwestern, I've been sweating until the final 2 minutes of the game, right? So I honestly think Northwestern has been somewhat unlucky this year. I mean, that Duke game, they should have won 100%. And they had a chance to win the game against Indiana. And honestly, I think Indiana is one of the most underrated offenses in the country. Curtis Rourke is an absolute dog. He was a dog last year at Ohio. He's a dog through, I think they're 6-0, right? 6 games so far this year. You don't
Bowl
get to
eligible.
Yeah, you don't get to 6-0 by accident, right? You got to be doing something right. And I think we saw the Indiana defense not too great, but that Indiana offense is really good. And if Northwestern can hold them to 41, there's no way Maryland's putting up that many. And I think Northwestern can score at least 21. I just don't see Maryland scoring 30 plus points and covering the spread. I think that's what they'd have to do to cover too.
All right, we've got a consensus quake on the first game of the weekend. Alex, do you have anything? What did we get wrong here? Props, sides, totals?
No, I'm not even going to touch this game. I think if it's anything, it's potentially the under, and then, I like the points. That's way too many points for these teams, so no. I'm right on track with you guys.
Okay, I segued into Alex just because the next game of the card is in Iowa City. We don't need to talk about what the Hawkeyes did in Columbus last week. The past is the past. We're looking forward. Huskies, first time in Kinnick. I don't know if that's true, but it's definitely their first time in Kinnick as a Big Ten member. Getting 2.5 points, coming off a big home emotional victory against the Wolverines. I hate to say it, but we do have to start with our resident Iowa expert. Alex, what do you think about that number? Last week you had some crazy narrative redemption prop that didn't cash. Do you have another one of those for us this week?
Well, one of them did. I gave you Caleb Johnson and Luke Lachey. Luke Lachey didn't hit. Caleb Johnson was our only touchdown. He'll probably be minus odds at this point to score. He's the only thing we have on offense. I like Iowa and I like the over. I think Iowa's going to get out to a lead early and kind of just hold on to it the rest of the game. I don't think Washington's ready for this environment. I don't think they're ready for this defense. I think Iowa's going to actually put up points on them. I think there's a lot of emotion coming off of last week. And look out for Brendan Sullivan, who is a transfer from Northwestern, actually. Dual threat quarterback. Cade McNamara might sit on the bench. I don't know if it'll be mid-game or before the game, but he's scored every time he's been on the field this year. So I think points are coming. I like Iowa and the over.
Number's 42.5. That's pretty high for these two defensively minded outfits. Nick, you touching anything in this game?
Yeah, it's probably my play of the week, honestly. It's you're gonna be happy to hear this, Alex. It's Iowa minus 2.5, and I think that number might even get lower. Honestly, if it gets down to 1.5, maybe just bink the money line. But Washington coming off a huge win, like you said, against Michigan. Iowa coming off a devastating loss. Whenever you see that, you just take the team that's coming off the big loss. And another great system, another great trend is unranked teams off a win against a ranked team cover the spread about 33% of the time the next week. So, I mean, just ripping that. And that's not even going into the fact that Iowa didn't cover last week. That number gets even higher if they're playing a team that didn't cover the week before, right? And especially in a blowout. I think this is going to be the easiest bet of the week. I don't think Washington scores more than 13 points. Now, I will never, ever, ever take an Iowa over. That's just you're just asking to be in pain and
it's 100% this year.
5-0.
The over every game this year.
5-0.
It makes no sense, but you're
the haters are furious.
This is gonna be that one where it's like, of course, like we should have saw it coming, knew it was going under. You know what I mean? One of those defensive battles. I think this game finishes 17-9, something like that. I think it's gonna be a low scoring battle. Iowa's gonna win though.
We got a lot of consensus quakes coming early in this card. I think you guys are both spot on. One thing neither of you discussed that I'll just add to the analysis, I love talking about time zones. Okay, they're kids. They're in school. They've got lives. 9 a.m. Pacific kickoff in Iowa City. Very tough place to play. It's going to be loud. Kirk's going to get the guys right after a embarrassing loss in Columbus. It feels like too big of a number, which means you should smash it. I think a home team gets 3 points generally in college, but I would think on paper Washington is probably, 3 points better, so I would expect this to be a pick'em. The fact that Iowa's getting 2.5, and that's an important number. I'm laying the points. I love the Hawkeyes. That's probably my favorite play this week as well.
Yeah, and I love to look at comparable matchups. Like, to me, Washington's played a couple teams similar to Iowa, Washington State and Rutgers. Both those times, Rutgers would have covered this number and Washington State would have covered this number. And that Washington State game was in Seattle. That wasn't in Washington State, right? So this game's at Iowa, and I think Iowa's better than Washington State, and I think they're better than Rutgers. So to me, I mean, 2.5 is that's a joke. That's a joke.
All right, let's go from the cornfields of the Midwest to the beautiful. I don't even know what the landscape is in Piscataway, but it's out in New Jersey. The Fightin'
Jersey
LJ.
Shore.
Yeah, the Jersey Shore. Another tight spread. This is a matchup. This is a bad uni clash, two red dominant jerseys. We got the Wisconsin Badgers coming off a thrashing of the Boilermakers, and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights losing a very disappointing road game in Lincoln, Nebraska last week. I'm going to go to Alex first. I know you probably got some shade to throw at Wisconsin, given any team that has a trophy game with Iowa. You have nothing but terrible things to say about them. Rutgers is laying 2.5 points. What do you like in this game, if anything at all?
I think I like Rutgers. I mean, talk about a team that's going to bounce back. Like I actually was playing in Nebraska is a very, very difficult environment, and a night game when they had all the momentum coming into it, I think that's a really hard loss for them. I think they're going to come out firing. Wisconsin might suck. There's a chance they suck. It's still TBD, but if I take anything in this game, I think I'm going to take Rutgers, and then I kind of like the over, but I've said over on every game so far, so I'm going to check myself and just stick to Rutgers and keep it there.
Dorm, what do you got for us?
Yeah, this is probably the one game on the slate that I would not touch.
Interesting.
To me, I mean, just looking at the computer, looking at what I think, the line's pretty perfect. I mean, 2.5 is spot on. My computer says 3, so not really value on either side. If I'm taking something, it's Wisconsin, but I don't like it. I just don't think. I mean, Rutgers isn't a football school, so whenever I see matchups like this, I like to lean towards a football school. Rutgers is a basketball school, so. And I was impressed by Wisconsin last week. It's Purdue, but they dominated Purdue. And in the first half against USC, Wisconsin looked great, and they crumbled in the second half. So I think if they, in their last 8 quarters of football they've played, they've looked great in 6 of the 8. So I'd be taking Wisco. I think they might be turning a tide. They're supposed to be decent this year, so I think they might be turning the tables on the season a little bit.
Alex, it
USC
looked like
might
you had
suck
something.
too, by the way. USC might suck.
They might.
There's a chance
yeah.
there's a chance of that after that
Which
loss.
is crazy. After
But
that
we'll get
LSU
there.
game, I was like, wow, USC might be really good this year.
LSU might also suck, as
Yeah.
we talked about before we got on, the flippening of the conferences, but we can get to that later.
Yeah.
The thing people forget about college football is that most teams suck. And it actually becomes harder throughout the season generally. The amount of teams that improve throughout the season, I would say generally, is lower than the amount of teams that degrade throughout the season. I said that in about as confusing a fashion as possible.
We got where you were going.
But basically, injuries and guys checking out tend to outweigh players developing and schemes coming together. With that in mind, I think this is a very interesting matchup. But I like Rutgers. I think Rutgers is legit. Their defense is very good. Their quarterback looked terrible in Lincoln, but beyond that game, he's been pretty sharp just distributing the rock. They've got a very good tailback and very good special teams. They blocked 2 punts in Lincoln last week. How the fuck do you not win that game? They're a very well-coached team.
How do you only score 7 points when you block 2 punts? That's
like
impossible.
That's one we got to fact check if that's ever happened before. And
Welcome to the Big Ten.
yeah, Shiano's a great coach. I don't think he's gonna let the boys lose that game and not have a terrific week of practice. Come out at home in Piscataway, hair on fire, beating up on the Badgers. I think Wisconsin abused the FCS caliber football team last week. I watched the first half of that game. They still look very flawed offensively. Like, you got wide receivers dropping balls everywhere. The quarterback who's filling in for the guy that tore his ACL against Bama looked better, but they're still in this weird transition from old school power eye, duo and gap scheme run game into kind of air raid, zone read football. Yeah. So I think they're still a year away, and I think Rutgers is going to be very up for this game. And I think they're a very talented football team. So I'll lay the points.
This is the first time in a while Wisco hasn't had a top-tier running back. I mean, you think about the last 10, 15 years, it's been Monty Ball, Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor, Braylon Allen. They've always had that dude that they can just hand the ball 25 times a game, and he's going to run for $150. You know what I mean? So I think that's why they sort of struggled this year, but I think they sort of found themselves against Purdue. I mean, Purdue's a get-right game for everybody, right? It was a great
For sure.
get-right game for Notre Dame after a bad loss to Northern Illinois. It was a get-right game for Wisco. Again, this is the one game where there's just no chance I'm playing it, but I do think Rutgers might be a little bit overvalued.
The Wisconsin guy who had a shot to be, the next in line in that Wisconsin running back lineage, Ches Malusi's stepping away for the rest of the year.
Right,
One of the all.
I saw that.
What? Talk about a guy with a great football name. I mean, that guy. That's about as good as it gets. So, yeah, Wisconsin is a little bit identityless this year. I don't feel that way about Rutgers, so I'm laying the points. Keep your eyes out in Madison. They got a guy from Mount Carmel High School on the south side of this fine city of Chicago, Darian Dupree, who's starting to get some snaps. So we love rooting for the Catholic Leaguers in the Big Ten.
Speaking of stepping away from football, what about Matthew Sluka from UNLV?
That is, give us some insider intel on that one.
So yeah, I mean, Sluka was a dog at UConn, and when he transferred over, I was like, wow, this UNLV team might be good with Ricky White. Now they have someone to throw him the rock, and I was like, the first couple of games, I was like, how are they scoring so many points? He's not even throwing the ball. So when a lot of people saw that, right, they were like, oh no, UNLV is going to struggle, blah 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 blah. They didn't. It's not like he was awesome. Like it's not like they were
didn't miss a beat.
No, it's not like they were slinging the rock all over the place. And I think the week after they beat up, was it Fresno State? And just beat them down or something like that. And then they looked good against Cuse. They should have won that game too. So, but just a weird situation. Didn't get his NIL money, so he's just out. I don't get it from someone that's not going to he's not going to play in the NFL. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's weird. Why would you not? Your team's ranked in the top 25. Why would you not play it out? Maybe you get a little bit of national. You have one blow up game, in a bowl game or something. Maybe you get a shot and you can sign as an undrafted free agent. But stepping away from football, you're done. Your career over.
Top to bottom, it smells fishy. The other thing that's a new thing in college football this year that I didn't have on my bingo card is the weaponization of the red shirt. When I was in school, you played it down. The red shirt was burnt. We used to joke, when I was a walk-on freshman, burn the shirt when we're winning by 50 points, against UC Davis, and we all know I'm not doing a fifth year. But now it's like you can play in up to, 4 games?
Yeah.
And if you sit out the rest of the season, you preserve a year of eligibility. I joke. I was texting with a guy after the IU Northwestern game on Saturday, who is a 7th-year senior, still playing Division I football. This is a grown-ass man out there with the COVID year and the red shirt, and it's just there's a lot of ways to continue playing college football right now, and I don't really understand how it all works together.
Yeah, last year with Penix and Bo Nix, it was the LinkedIn Bowl. I think they were 26 and 27 or 25, 26. Yeah, it's. I mean, Cam Rising right now, is he 26 years old, 27?
Yeah.
And Cam McCormick, the tight end from Miami, he's 26, 27. He was at Oregon. And
his journey's crazy though.
He got hurt on the first play of every single year, and he's been playing for 6-7 years. Nuts.
That's a guy where it's like, okay, actually, maybe this is a good thing. And then you have people who roll their ankle, and it's like, actually, I just want to be at another school.
Yeah.
But you're making money. Like, you want to go sell cars, or you want to, make. I don't know. I have no idea what like a second-string D lineman at Indiana gets paid in NIL, but he doesn't pay for shit. And you get free food and nice lodging. It's not that bad of a life. You get to work out. Your belly doesn't look like mine.
I saw something the other day. If Miami and Alabama were to play in a playoff game, there would be a 27-year-old playing a 17-year-old or 18-year-old.
That's awesome.
28, 18, or 27.
Yeah, Ryan Williams is 17. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be 18 by the time the playoffs roll around. I think he will be. So I think it was 28-year-old and 18-year-old if they were to play each other, which is I mean, you don't really. I mean, it's rare you see a 10-year age gap in the NFL, right? It's rare for people to be playing when they're 40 years old, playing 30-year-olds. But 28 and 18 in college football, it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, and those are crucial years, right? Yeah, 18,
yeah.
you're just kind of growing in your body still, and you're going against a grown-ass man with kids. It's like, whoa, what are we doing?
Unless
here?
you're Jeremiah Smith, who's pretty much like 26 years old and plays like an. Same with Ryan Williams, both just
They're dogs.
grown adults.
Yeah, they're dogs.
Different.
A little different.
Okay, let's head to Southern Cal. This is a very interesting matchup and a very interesting number. Penn State making the cross-country trek to the City of Angels. USC coming off a surprise loss in the Twin Cities. I'm seeing this at Southern Cal +5. I think the total is 50.5, which is sky high for a Big Ten football game. Nick, you got anything in this game? Side, total, anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. You can write this on my tombstone. Penn State's not a good football team.
Really?
They're really, really bad. They're horrible.
Breaking.
I honestly don't even think they're one of the top 20 teams in the country. It's honestly kind of a mockery to the sport that they're fourth. And
this is spicy.
It's not like I'm a Penn State hater. I like Penn State. And normally I think they're underrated. But they've done nothing all year. Their only good win is West Virginia. And then the next week, you almost lose to Bowling Green. And then you blow out Kent State like you should. But then Illinois you don't cover. UCLA you don't cover. I mean, at some point we gotta say this team's not the fourth best team in the country, right? They're overvalued. USC coming off of a bad loss to Minnesota. USC money line in this one.
Wow.
Yeah, plus. I mean, I'm seeing you can get it plus 185 at home. I think they have the better quarterback, not the better defense. But I think if you have the better quarterback, you're always going to be in a football game, right? He has one day. He has one good game. There's no way Penn State's going to be able to keep up with USC. There's just no chance. I like UCLA plus the 5.5 and UCLA money line. I think Penn State's season is sort of done here. I think this is the end of it.
They love dropping big games once the leaves on the trees start falling.
Yep.
The one
lose here to USC and then lose to Ohio State and
rinse repeat 10-2 or Capital One Bowl. Yeah. Keep it rolling.
It's the Cowboys of college football.
The one thing that I think presents a matchup problem for the Trojans in this one is Penn State does have some monsters on the defensive line, and USC's offensive line is very bad. Like, Miller Moss has been getting assaulted every game. They have a very good tailback, but for some reason they decided to throw the ball 30, 40 times a game, and he's getting pelted. Penn State's got another monster, number 11. The guy's name is escaping me, from Philly, 2-2 something. He's a beast. They got some other dudes up front. I'm not touching this game. I kind of wanted to take Penn State. Then I saw James Franklin talking about how they have to get on a bus to Harrisburg for 2 hours, then get on a 5.5-hour flight to L.A. That freaks me out. 5 is a weird number. That freaks me out. I don't like betting on SC because I think there is a possibility that Miller Moss just gets sacked 9 times and they lose 34-17. And there's a couple strip sacks in there and good field position for the Nittany Lions. I'm staying away from this game. Time zone freaking me out. Travel freaking me out. If you're listening and you're on the aviation board in State College, Pennsylvania, let's expand the runway. What are we doing? It's 2024. Let the kids take a direct flight to the Coliseum one time for me. Alex, the stash looks good right now, but I want to know, are you touching anything in this football game?
I think you brought up the most important point. James Franklin's already making excuses. He's walking over there. He's crying about the travel. That made me, Nick, when you said you were on USC, I liked it even more. That excuse put me over the edge. I think that I may take money line. I might buy some points in a little two-leg with something else. But I will not be touching Penn State. If I took anything, it would for Penn State. It would be a touchdown score for I think Nick Singleton. Is that their run? Is that their back?
Yep.
Yeah, Singleton. That's the only thing. Just because I think USC's defensive line might be trash, and Penn State's got big boys. So come in the red zone, I think he's going to get touches. But yeah, it'll be USC. James Franklin making excuses before the game. That's never a good sign of confidence. So yeah, I'm with you.
That's runaway.
Two quick
Talk
things
to us.
and then jump to the next game. 5 is the new trap number. We're seeing so many games, and there's a lot of psychology that goes into betting, right? When you see the number 5, you're like, no, that doesn't matter. If it's anything over 3 and less than 7, it's fine. You know what I mean? Because you're thinking, I either have to win by a field goal or a touchdown. So 5.5 is that new trap number. We're seeing it a lot in the NFL. 5.5-point dogs are becoming more and more common, and they're covering a ton. So I love seeing this line at 5. I think it's awesome because you're going to see, I mean, we're seeing 90% of the bets on Penn State, and this line's holding pretty strong. Like, it opened at 4, now it's 5, but that's just because USC lost to Minnesota last week. That's not, the line's holding strong at 5, even with 90% of the bets coming in on Penn State. And then the second thing, just leave the points at the door. Take the money line.
There you go. Put it on the dance floor. How about it? All right, let's go to the Lincoln State. Purdue, the FCS program that I bash on this program every week. Getting 20 points against, dare I say, football school, University of Illinois. Brett Bielema's got the guys looking right, coming off a tough L in State College and a bye week. Nick, is that too big a number? You touching it? You touching a total?
Yeah. What line are you seeing? 21?
I'm seeing Illinois minus 20.
20. Okay.
I see 21.5 on BetMGM right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
21.5 on Caesars.
This is ESPN.com. I'm very lazy when I'm preparing for this show.
Yeah, you're good.
Rigged book.
There's just no chance. There's no chance I'm betting on Hudson Card. I mean, Purdue is genuinely one of the worst teams in the country, and we've seen them play one good team, Notre Dame. They got throttled. And we saw them play one Big Ten team that's decent, Wisconsin, and they got throttled. And I honestly think Illinois is better than definitely Wisconsin. I think they might be as good as Notre Dame as well, right? Luke Altmaier has been fantastic. Even against Penn State when they lost, he kept them in the game. They hung around. They had a chance at the end. I don't think it's enough points. I think this line could be 28 and Illinois can cover. We've seen Purdue. they don't score.
I hate betting spreads this large.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because weird stuff happens in football and college football. I saw some dude getting upset about some game the other day. It was like, what are we doing? You go up 31 points and then you just stop trying?
It was Oregon.
Yes, it was Oregon. I was like, yeah, actually, that's exactly what you do in college football.
Yep.
You go up 31 points, and then you stop trying. And you get the walk-ons in or the young quarterback some reps, and they suck because the team that's losing keeps their studs in to try to build some confidence. So 20 points is a lot. You get nervous that Illinois is up 28-0. And then you get a backdoor cover from Purdue running over some 5'6" middle linebacker who, has been on the team for 6 years. With that being said, I have a very simple system that I'm deploying 2024 in the Big Ten Pick'em. It's called Fade Purdue because they stink and they're going to keep being bigger and bigger dogs, and I'm going to keep fading them until they tell me that's a bad idea. So I'm laying the points. Go Illinois. The other danger about these big spreads, you talk yourself into betting on bad football teams.
Yeah.
Betting on bad football teams sucks. Illinois is a good football team. Lay them, and let's hope nothing weird happens in the fourth quarter.
Fade Purdue, tail Indiana. It's pretty simple.
Yes, that is the Hoosier State formula.
Equation. It's the equation.
Few understand this.
Few.
All right, Alex, you're giggling over there. You got any plays for us?
Well, I don't know if you guys know this. Brett Bielema, Iowa Hawkeye. Lou, the only counterpoint I have to college football where teams give up and put their backups in, I think the NIL era is going to bring some late favorite covers. I think there's a lot of booster pleasing. I think this might be something
Michigan
new
State
where,
kicked a late field goal to cover. A lot of people needed that field goal
Yeah.
to be in the money. Jonathan Smith.
I think
hero.
that might become something new where the boosters are like, okay, well, we'll give you an extra little piece here and there if you cover the spread. We're going to bet on you every week. What are you against the spread? That's Galaxy Brain, probably nothing. But yeah, give me the under. Give me the under. Brett Bielema, Hawkeye. He's not going to let them score. It's going to be an embarrassment if they put up more than 10 points. So give me the under.
Yeah, I like that. 48.5 is a big number, and Purdue's not going to provide many of those points.
Yeah.
All right, here's our game of the week. Loud and proud. Let's see the logo, Nick. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
Oh, absolutely intentional.
The Silver Bullets and their road whites, the Ohio State University, head out to the Pacific Northwest to take on the Oregon Ducks. Excuse me. This is a 2-3 matchup. Oregon getting points at home. These two teams have a lot of history. I know they're not conference rivals. They played in the Rose Bowl a few times. Ohio State won their only national championship of the playoff era in a dog walking of the Marcus Mariota-led Ducks.
Don't bring me back.
Trigger warning.
Yeah.
Nick, obviously emotionally, this is an interesting game for you. Are you able to kind of leave the feelings at the door and be a cold-blooded killer about this game? Do you avoid betting the Ducks? Do you just let it ride and say, I don't care? Talk me through your mentality in a big game with a tight spread against a solid opponent for a team you love.
For sure. So you've played in Autzen. I've been to Autzen.
I have. I've watched. I did not step on the field. I did during warm-ups.
You've been
Close
on
enough. Yeah. They played
been on
Raspberry
field.
Beret warm-up. It was an incredible vibe.
And how was the crowd? Because it's not a big stadium.
It's very loud. I compare Autzen to Camp Randall in Wisconsin. It's kind of in the woods, not a huge stadium, but it's very vertical, and people care about football, so it's an awesome vibe. It's not like, like USC, the fans are just like rude. Oregon, the fans are like good vibes, like UW, or excuse me, Wisconsin UW. But it's fucking loud. It's a hard place to play, and I mean, it's going to be electric for this particular game.
Yeah, and I've been to one game in Autzen, and it was at this time. It was a 7:30 7:30 Eastern time, 4:30 Pacific time game, and as the sun's setting on Autzen, there is nowhere you'd rather be. Every
Bingo.
person in Eugene will be at that stadium, whether they're inside or outside. There's nothing else to do in Eugene. Nothing. It's a shithole. Every single person will be at that stadium.
Sorry if you're listening from Eugene.
They know it. I mean, I talked to a couple people there. It's not a great place, but they got one thing going for them, and it's the University of Oregon. To me, I'm not going to bet it because I don't have to. I'm already emotionally invested. But just looking at the numbers, Vegas wants you to take Ohio State here. This line opened preseason at Oregon -1. Then last week it was Ohio State -4.5. Ohio State blows out Iowa. Oregon doesn't cover against Michigan State, and the line drops from 4.5 to 3.5 with 90+% of the bets on Ohio State. So we have reverse line movement at its finest, and on top of that, it's still above a key number at 3. Right? If this line shifted from 3.5 to 2.5, it might scare me off Oregon. But 4.5 to 3.5, we're still above that key number of 3. We're still getting that hook, and I'm seeing everyone betting on Ohio State. You guys know what happens at the end of the games when Vegas needs something, right? When they need something, it usually happens. So
They make that call.
Yeah, leave the points at the door. Take the Ducks.
This game is fascinating. For that reason, I'm not playing it. Let me just start there. I play 5 Big Ten games a week, and this one is wacko. Reasons why I don't like this game. I feel like these two teams, you know how when you're like a kid and there's 60 Minutes talking about like why you shouldn't smoke cigarettes or something, and there's like the guy who has avoid strangers, and they like black out his face and they do the weird voice like your uncle who smoked cigarettes for too long. I feel like that is both of these football teams. I have no idea what either of these teams are. They haven't played anyone really of their caliber. Neither of them have gone on the road and played a meaningful football game. I have no idea what they have. So it's week 7. We're going to figure it out Saturday night in Autzen, and I'm going to enjoy as a fan with some popcorn and maybe a dad soda without a betting interest in the game. I'm a Buckeyes fan, let it be known. So maybe Nick and I will have some sort of friendly wager outside of monetary means. I think in the Oregon camp, I love that Lanning didn't show anything against Michigan State last week. I thought it was a very workmanlike victory. I like that he got this.
Shown anything all year.
Exactly.
They've ran like 30 total plays the entire season. It's annoying because we've barely beaten teams, but they're going to have so many plays that Ohio State hasn't even seen film on. So
the one issue I have with betting Oregon, the other things I like on the Oregon side, I love betting home dogs. I love betting home dogs that are good football teams. The issue, Dan Lanning has kind of faltered in big games. Maybe this is his big breakthrough, but I'm thinking about the Washington game in the regular season last year and the championship game. He's yet to have that statement victory where you're like, all right, he's ready to roll. Yep. I also, again, anecdotally, I'm making this up, I feel like new Big Ten teams tend to struggle in their first like marquee home game where one of the blue blood brands come out and kind of punch him in the mouth. Except for Washington, great exception. So maybe that's a dead storyline.
I'm like literally any reason to be hopeful.
But I'm not touching this game. There's so many different dynamics at play here. So I'm just going to enjoy as a fan. Gentle reminder, you don't have to bet on every single football game. You can still have fun and hang with your pals. But Alex disagrees with me. Let's hear what he's betting on Saturday night at Autzen Stadium.
I think you broke it down perfectly. I don't know what these teams are. They're obviously both good teams. I'm going to be live betting this game. I think whoever scores first, I will be taking the other side and get a better line depending on what it is.
That's a great play.
We were talking about this earlier, Nick, Lou, before you hopped on. Oregon's red zone offense is trash. Gabriel's thrown how many picks in the red zone? I mean, even within the 5-yard line.
3 picks in the end zone.
Disgusting. I mean, they're playing football right now, like you mentioned it. They're not running many plays. They're playing like somebody on like Madden or NCAA where they have like 3 favorite plays and they just run it every single time.
Shark wheel.
Exactly. I do worry about the physicality of Ohio State. They have just kind of bullied a lot of people, so it's going to be a live
inferior
game
opponents. I mean, the Ryan Day era at Ohio State is all about bullying the inferior opponents and kind of when the bully punches you in the mouth, kind of pissing down your leg a little bit. So,
to your point, great point. Lewis, I would say Ryan Day hasn't won that big game either.
He's done it in the playoffs, but in the Big Ten conference play outside of Penn State,
big game.
Let's call a spade a spade. He hasn't beat Michigan, right? Yeah. He's beat everybody that doesn't have that block M with that ugly color yellow. Yeah. So maybe that's a point for him in this case, where he wins big games outside of Ann Arbor. But this will be a fascinating game. This is NBC's first blockbuster Big Ten matchup. That was a big win for the Big Ten for them to get a big contract with NBC. I think last week was a diet version of that. Very good Washington team and a down Michigan team. But games don't get any bigger than this. So I hope Autzen's rocking.
I think that. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but the Oregon running back Jordan James last year, top 3 in the country in yards per carry, and this year he hasn't missed a beat. He's still averaging 7 yards a carry, right? Now, the big names are the Ohio State running backs, Travion Henderson, Quinshot, and Judkins. I've watched all the Ohio State games. I have not been impressed by either one of them. I think they're missing holes. I think they're running into blockers. I don't think they've looked explosive. Now, recently they've had a couple of big games, and, they're good football players. That's going to happen when you play bad teams. You're going to run on them. But I think Oregon's going to be able to control the line of scrimmage. They have the better defensive line, even though Ohio State has the better defensive linemen in Sawyer.
Interesting.
But Oregon's D-line, they have 2 players in the top 5 in the country in QB pressures. 2 of them. And I think Will Howard is not good.
Fraud?
Yeah, we'll just say it how it is.
You can't even say fraud. I don't. Yeah.
He gets bailed out by Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka. The amount of ridiculous catches these guys have made are insane. And I was talking to my buddy after I saw the Jeremiah Smith one-handed touchdown catch. I said, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be Ohio State's final drive. Jeremiah Smith's going to try to catch a ball with one hand. He's going to drop it. Oregon wins. That's my prediction.
Clip that.
That'd be crazy if it happened.
Clip it, Sheer. Bogo.
I think he tries to use one hand too much. Now, he's a very talented player. He makes ridiculous catches. But when you got 2 hands, use them. I mean, eventually he's going to drop the ball. You know what I mean?
That's been the Ohio State maddening storyline the past few years. It's like way too cute in the pregame warmups, way too cute in critical moments where, what wins in the Big Ten, what wins in college football, who's got the nastier O-line, D-line, hit the quarterback, run the ball in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
We'll see what happens on Saturday night. It's going to be a terrific football game.
Yeah, and Oregon and Michigan State Oregon and Ohio State both played Michigan State. Now, Ohio State covered. Obviously, Oregon didn't because they put backups in. But, I mean, they were up 31-0. That game was over, and Dylan Gabriel threw 2 picks in the end zone. So, they both dominated them. But Michigan State moved the ball way better on Ohio State. Aiden Childs, 2 fumbles and a pick in Ohio State territory. 3 turnovers inside the Ohio State 35. That game, Michigan State could have easily scored 20 points. Whereas against Oregon, they had absolutely nothing until they put backups in. So I think the Oregon defense is better, and I think Ohio State's going to struggle to move the ball. I'm so pumped for this game.
Can we all just take a moment? I know there's a lot of college football boomers that are poo-pooing conference realignment and oh, it's not the same. This is awesome that we have a Week 7 marquee matchup, 3 versus 4, Buckeyes versus Ducks. This is awesome. I mean, there's no way you can tell me you'd rather be watching Ohio State play Minnesota than going out to Autzen Stadium to play a conference football game. It's awesome.
After a lot of these upsets, people are saying the Big Ten might be the best conference in football. People are saying.
Vandy may get relegated up to the Big Ten, actually.
Promoted.
Exactly. All right, we got one more game on the slate. A little Big Ten after dark action, 9 p.m. Eastern kick. Who doesn't love that? From the Rose Bowl, Minnesota Golden Gophers, the fighting PJ Flex. I called last week's game like I was Nostradamus, but guess what? They're no longer the best 2-3 football team in America. Now they're 3-3. They're continuing their crusade against California, headed to the Rose Bowl, laying 5.5 against a Bruins team that's been traveling the country, getting beat like a drum in every corner of the country. Nick, I'm very curious to hear your take on this game. You lead us off.
Yeah, this is gross, but man, I'm taking UCLA. Again, that 5.5 number is such a trap line. They got to cover eventually. I mean, they're not going to get blown out in every single game. And like I said, I love to fade teams coming off a big win, especially Minnesota has to go to California, to Los Angeles, somewhere they probably haven't been in a long time. It's tough. I mean, like you said, time zones. That's a 2-hour time difference.
They're kicking off at 8 p.m. Central. That's PJ Flex usually tucked into bed at that time.
7 p.m. Central, yeah. But it's weird. UCLA's not good, but I think they're better. They've been playing better than people sort of give them credit. I watched the Oregon-UCLA game. UCLA looked better than Michigan State against Oregon. I watched the UCLA-Penn State game. They hung around for a little bit. They scored some points. I've seen Minnesota play UNC. They looked horrible. I just think 5.5 is just too much for 2 bad teams. It's just a lot of points. I mean, Minnesota's not a good football team.
I'm going to hop in here. Everything that you said makes sense. 100%. You love fading a team after an emotional victory headed on a long road trip. You love home dogs. You love teams coming off a loss, the rebound. Here's what you got wrong. UCLA sucks. This is a terrible football team. And the biggest trap is not a trap number at 5.5 or 5, which I agree is a trap number. The biggest trap in betting college football is betting on bad football teams, which I refuse to do. I feel disgusting laying 5.5 with the Gophers, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be ashamed, and I'm going to take a shower after I punch in that $10 bet on my Bet Rivers account. But guess what? I'm not betting on bad football teams, and this is probably the game I like least of my 5 best bets of the week, but I'm going to do it. The one thing that gives me a tiny ounce of solace about taking the Gophers here, I do think they are one of the minority of teams that will be much better in Week 13 versus Week 1. They have improved every week. They're defensively sound. They have a very good tailback who would happily tote the rock 55 times a game if it meant getting the W. Their quarterback looked pretty damn good last week, made good decisions, got the ball on time. That is about 80% of being a college football quarterback. So I'm a believer in the fight in PJ Flex. I think UCLA's terrible. I can't bet on them in good conscience. So I'm going to close my eyes, pinch my nose, and lay the 5.5 in the Rose Bowl. Alex, what do you got for us? Break the tie here.
I'll be going to bed for this game. So I will not watch a second of this game. I mean, maybe I'll have it on in the background. I kind of like Minnesota's team total. Minnesota's offense has been impressive to me. If I'm going to take anything, I might take their team total. But, yeah, I got nothing of substance for this game. I'll be either asleep or at the bar. So,
yeah, let's be honest. I mean, Iowa State plays West Virginia at 8, and Kansas State plays Colorado at 10:15. No one's watching Minnesota UCLA.
Correction, I will be watching this game because I'm a sicko, and I love Big Ten football more than just about anything.
Also, the fact that it's the snooze game, the fact that it's the snooze game probably means it's going to be like the best game on an incredible slate. Like no one will watch it, and it'll be like a last-second ending. Yeah. It'll be something crazy.
Yeah.
It's like last week, apple picking weekend. All of a sudden, it's like the best Saturday of the whole fall. So
yeah. I didn't know you were an Ohio State fan, Lewis. I think
I've intentionally concealed that from you. I wanted to break the news to you in a public setting, so you did not shame me. Hopefully, kind of. With everybody watching, you'll go easy on me. But after the recording, you can beat me up.
It's all right. I just think less of you.
Yes. You can only go so low. What else we like? MLB, outside the Big Ten. Anything you want to share with our hundreds of adoring listeners while we got you?
MLB, Tigers are officially 1 game away from going to the ALCS. And Tarek Skubal gets to pitch again, no matter what. So they either close it out tomorrow and they move to the ALCS, or they get Tarek Skubal in Cleveland, which is the game I was at, again, when he dominated and gave up 0 runs. He's still yet to give up a run in the playoffs. Tigers are I'm not going to say it's a lock, but it's about as sure of a thing as you can get to the ALCS.
They're serving major team of destiny vibes. I would
That's what
say
I've heard about the Mets too, but I
the Mets
can
are
back
them,
the
yeah.
Tigers. I hate the Mets. I can't.
Something about Detroit is the 6th seed, right? Or are they not? Did I make that up?
No, they're the 6th seed.
Wasn't Texas and Arizona 6 seeds last year? Did I make that up as well? Something about this new format where you just kind of sneak into the playoffs and get hot with a couple good pitchers. It's like that seems to be the formula.
Well, what's weird is there was not a single team that had 100 wins this year.
A lot of parity. Well,
very abnormal.
There was one team that had 122 losses, so I don't know how that, screws with the algorithm for the other 29 teams.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting point.
Yeah. So it's fun. The reason I like the AL Central is it was the best division in baseball outside of the White Sox. But
yeah, exactly. How
Right,
much
they
of that
beat
is just the
them.
White Sox feeding W's? Just a bunch of Sox merchants.
I don't know. I mean, they beat up on each other all year. They beat good teams, and I mean, Tigers swept the Astros, right?
Yeah.
You don't do that by accident. I mean, when you have hands down the best pitcher in baseball, not even close, you're gonna have a chance in any series that isn't 7 games. Are you 3 game series? You're getting an auto win. You just gotta win one of the other two. 5 game series, you're getting an auto 2 wins most likely. 7 game series gets a little bit tough, but 3 game and 5 game series, man, I like the Tigers matchups.
And the Kansas City Bobby Witts are legit. This is not your classic, like, Royals go to Yankee Stadium and get 3 games swept with a courtesy, sell a bunch of souvenirs at Kauffman Stadium for the hard work. These guys are legit. Salvi Perez has still got it. Pasquantino's a freaking
Dog.
beast. Like,
They're 1-1, and Bobby Witt's been horrible. He doesn't
yeah,
have a hit.
exactly. He's
been
0 for.
5 Ks. He's been horrible.
Judge has been horrible.
Yeah.
So I think that series has been interesting, but the marquee players have not been living up to the billing.
You know what's interesting is during the regular season and a player has 2 bad games, it's like, yeah, whatever. In the postseason, when the lights are shining, can't have bad games. Judge, that's the big knock on his. He's never been a postseason performer. I also hate the Yankees, so every
Hate on.
every chance I get to see them fail is awesome because my team didn't make the playoffs. So
I took a moment a second ago to talk about how awesome it is that we get this marquee Big Ten matchup in October. Every year I forget how awesome this stretch of the sports calendar generally is. Like, playoff baseball rules.
Yep.
And you get to splice that in with college football, NFL football. NHL is back. I know you're a big NHL guy, Nick. This is the best time of year. It's a great time to subscribe to Dorm Room Degenerates on Dub Club. BOGO offer. Alex, drop the link. Buy one, get one. 10-2 in his last 12 plays.
considering we've had 25 out of 30 winning days, might be a good time.
That'll pay the
that
bills
good?
and send. Yeah,
And 21 out of 30 the month before. So
that works.
yeah.
We got great toot in the chat. Cease unders today seem nice. Padres are likely to pull him early, being on only 3 days rest. So I feel
You know who that is, right?
that's Jeremy. Jeremy is a Dub Club legend, and he has a great toot. Are you a props guy in the MLB, Nick, or do you really just cover sides and totals?
I do strikeout perhaps during the year, but not in the playoffs. But really, only
Just too many
strikeout
changes. It's there's too many risks.
Like you saw with the Tigers today, the Tigers and Guardians, there were like 3 substitutions in the first 2 innings. Like you never see that in baseball. But I have a good quote from Alex on our last meeting last week. He said the MLB playoffs are better than the NFL playoffs. So
That is a spicy take. I don't think I disagree. Do you, Nick? You're laughing that off.
I might be making that up, but I'm pretty sure that might have come out of his mouth.
I will say I think the divisional round of the NFL is maybe the best weekend.
That's Saturday,
sports.
Sunday.
That to me personally, as an NFL guy, that's like I think the best weekend of sports. But I am becoming romantic about baseball. These playoffs have been sick, and I love seeing the big franchises. Like I love seeing the Yankees blow it. Excited to see Ohtani performing, and this is the first time. Well, maybe, yeah, probably it's the Dodgers, but to see somebody like him who's never had a shot in the playoffs come out and do great, it is pretty cool. So, yeah, it's been fun. As not even a baseball fan, it's been sick.
Yeah, it's March Madness, NHL playoffs, MLB playoffs, college football postseason, then NFL, then NBA. That's my order.
Wow.
And I love the NFL playoffs, but
Yeah.
the series
drama.
are always better.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
March Madness still reigns supreme, always. Even though it's one game, it's madness, right?
The other thing that's really fun about this particular DS, first of all the series are very competitive. First time ever they've all gone 1-1 after 2 games. There's some good divisional rivalries playing out. The Padres and Dodgers, this is the saltiest rivalry in baseball right now. I mean, if you didn't watch Game 2 and like get a little blood running hot, I mean, you're not a real sports fan.
Yep.
Mets Phillies, that's
Well, yeah,
another
before-
rivalry that's running hot. I mean, I don't think Guards and Tigers is the same kind of like animosity, but if they keep playing in October, it'll certainly be like that soon.
3 of the 4 are divisional matchups, which is
And-
that doesn't seem like it happens a lot.
No, and Yanks Royals feels like a consistent October matchup
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Yeah. It shouldn't, but it does. I agree with you.
And a lot of star power in that one.
Yeah. Both of them have won a World Series in the last 10 years. 12 years. No, 15 years. Yikes. Yanks.
We're not a fact checking, not a math pod. You're
Yeah.
safe here.
I forget that it's 2024 and the Yankees have been poverty for the last 15 years, so
What a shame.
yeah. Phillies are about to take the lead over the Mets. Give me a game. Give me a game 5.
Yeah, I want a game 5.
Please.
Give me all the Mets fan tears.
That game 2 when the Phillies came back, went up on a Bryson Stott triple, Mets tied in the 9th, Phillies walk it off. One of the best baseball games I've ever watched. I need
Truly. Leading
I need
into
that.
Sunday. I think that was leading into Sunday Night Football, right? Am I misremembering that?
No, you are absolutely correct.
That's like, okay, this is
Perfect.
sports at its best. This is October at its best.
Everyone finished watching football and then watched the end of the baseball game that's right when it went crazy.
Just bathing in a Nick Castellanos walk-off. Oh,
Harper homer, Castellanos tragedy homer. It was the day the hurricane got announced. Castellanos goes. It was just perfect. Everything that went right went. Everything that was supposed to go right did.
Bears dominant W. You forgot that one, but I'll give you the footnote
Does it count
version.
if it was the Panthers?
Yeah, of course. It's a rivalry.
Got to take what you can get.
All right, I think that's all we got. We got to go watch the end of this Phillies-Mets game. What a blast with one of the sharpest of the sharps. Nick, good luck to your Ducks on Saturday. Thank you for educating us all. That was a ton of fun, and hopefully we put up a beating on the sportsbook this weekend.
Hell yeah, clean sweep, 7 games,
Need it.
7 W's. Thank you guys. It was awesome. Always good.
This
to
was
talk.
fun.
Always good to see you. Cash your bets out tonight.
Let's go.
See ya.
See you, fellas.